Welcome to Chanakya, where you get the right guidance at the right time. We have a situation from Jessica, one which has often been encountered by Scrum Masters. Let's explore this with our experts. Jessica, a seasoned Scrum Master, is taking over a project from her colleague. The project is in 6th sprint. They run a 2-week sprint. During the context setting, Jessica's colleague was very appreciative of team's capability. There are people with right skills necessary for the project. Somehow, their velocity is also not bad. They are more or less closer to their plan, but the primary issue is lack of discipline. For example, there are challenges. Some of the team members may not be attending stand-ups regularly. The stand-up updates are not very useful. Daily code check-ins are not happening. Some people don't speak up during retrospectives. Some of them don't write unit tests. There are days when team left when the build was still broken, etc. So, Shivji and Harish, what are your thoughts? What Jessica could do?
Okay. I think the key operative word that really intrigued me was the team was meeting all their commitments somehow. Okay. Which means there is a lot of things that are probably going under the carpet or not really extremely visible. The way in which the team has probably been working is that they may be giving inflated estimates. So, even with a lot of probably inefficiencies, I think they are meeting the commitments. I find that this model by a person called Patrick Lencioni, which is called the 5 dysfunctions of a team, will be very useful for Jessica in this case to understand some of the softer aspects related to the teams as to what can be done to improve that.
That's interesting. Could you please elaborate a bit? What are they?
So, when you look at how teams come together and work, we talk about cohesive teams. The first element or the first aspect that they need to have is trust. Okay. They need to trust each other. Okay. When there is a lack of trust in the team, what it leads to is what Lencioni calls as fear of conflict. Okay. So, I don't trust you, so I probably don't want you to review my code, because I might feel that you may use that to actually take a stab at me. Okay. So, once this happens, there is a lack of commitment. Okay. Would say that now, okay, why should I? Fine, I will do whatever I need to do, but then the bare minimum, which could result in lower standards for the team. Okay. Once you have a lower standard, it is also not accountable. It is okay, everything is fine, somebody will accept it. Now, all this, these 4, that is the lack of trust, and then the fear of conflict, lack of commitment, and reluctance to take accountability, will lead to what Lencioni calls as inattention to results. You say, okay, technically I have done whatever I am supposed to do, whether it happens or not is not really my problem. So, I think that is something that is extremely dysfunctional for a team to work cohesively, because they need to make the commitments together.
That's very, very valid. Would you like to add from your experience?
Yeah, from what you are telling, SK, some of the things that I took away, at least, the team is meeting its commitments. And so, while there are other issues, what it also means is there's a lot of opportunities and headroom for the team to actually come and do things even better.
Yeah,
I think
meeting at least velocity commitment.
Yes, because the velocity is being met, and so that means anything else that happens is a tremendous headroom for improvement itself. And Jessica, being a seasoned Scrum Master, I think the first thing that typically, at least I would like to start off with, look at what are the aspirational goals the team has set for itself, because while deliveries are, they need to be done, they're like a fact of life, but teams come together, form, and I think teams that have worked well carry stories that they relive well past the delivery timeline. So, what is the aspirational goal of the team is something that, is it there, and what is it? That is something that Jessica must first understand very nicely. And then look at what is the operational process of the team, because the goals may be there, but the operational processes sometimes they don't really put in place for the goals to be met itself. So, those are 2 areas that Jessica must start off with. Okay. We can get into details if
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, the first, like I was telling, the aspirational goals, by that what I meant is, what are the commitments that the team has made to itself and to the client. The client even more important because the clients may have different expectations, not that the software must be delivered, but also around how the code must be written, and they may sometimes want to take over maintenance after the code is built. So what are the goals around maintainability? What are the goals around transparency? Clients may tolerate delays, but they may not tolerate surprises. So what are the client commitments and what has the team set for itself in order to meet them? That is a very important area to start off with. The second thing that I would like to Jessica to look at is how is that information made available, information dashboards. And the reason why that is important is because once it's available, then the team has an opportunity to speak about it, and more importantly, then they don't have to involve in speaking separately on the sites. Information is surface available, and there's nothing that's off the table, and that I feel creates a lot of trust. There may be some difficult conversations, but there will be trust because they are in a sense put together to meet those goals. So information dashboards being available not just on delivery, but also on, say, code coverage. What are the features that are getting built? What is the return on investment from those features? The impact to the client. If those are visible and if the team knows whether meeting them or not, that's a very good way to bring them out. And the other one that must be looked at is the team dynamics, because there are different people are always different, and how are they interacting with each other. Of that, the one thing that I think Jessica must look for is, do they respect each other? Because there can be difficult conversations, but the inherent respect for each other is a critical attribute for success of any team itself, in anything. So that is something that she must look at by looking at whether people are being open even when there are mistakes, and do they just treat mistakes as an event and not as a person's irresponsibility or a person's ignorance or unskilled behavior. Those are things that I look for carefully. The other two things being state of the code base, those kind of things. Those are things that Jessica must start looking at in order to understand where the team is in its landscape of aspirational goals and the working process. I think that's where I'll start off with if I was Jessica.
True, especially when you say people open up. That's one of the challenges they have in retrospective. People are not opening up and not discussing. So that's valid. And what do you think she should be doing next?
So typically, if Jessica is taking over a project, then I'm very sure the initial things that are done is she works with the Scrum Master to understand what's the team, what is the goal set, etc. So she must start with the Scrum Master to understand what are the client commitments, and if possible, sometimes even with the client, to understand what are the commitments they expect. So get that view first, and then start having conversations with the team itself, one-on-one. So typically, I would suggest starting off with the team, with people who are new into the team, understand their background, understand their expectations, and more importantly, understand what they know about client commitments and the aspirational goals of the team for themselves. Because what I find is, teams typically go wrong only when they do not know what they want to achieve. If you remove that blocker, I think the teams get charged up. So I will focus on that. With more experience, when I mean more experience, not in terms of years of experience, but in terms of people who are in the team and who are supposed to shepherd and form the team itself. With them, some are pointed questions itself around how do they collect technical metrics, code coverage, how do they track broken builds, what is the culture of the team, or what is the expectation between each other. If there's a build broken, what is their expectation? Do they leave it? Can they go home? Do they fix it? Do they talk about it? Those kind of pointed questions. And do they actually take a look at code that is being checked in? Somebody else may be checking in, but how am I aware of the code base? Those are things that I kind of ask I want Jessica
team
to
ownership.
ask. Yes. How do they own not just the team's delivery, but the team's culture? Those are things that I think must be spoken to with people who are more responsible for shepherding the culture of the team. With those two being done, then she can look at how is information collected, how is it shown across to the team, and then it will become easier for stand-ups and retrospectives to be more productive, because data is there is some problem, and so you can then make the question around, hey, we are seeing this as a trend from our team, and this is the goal. And if there's any concern, what do we do about it? I think that provides a lot more room for ideas, for things to flow, and for energy to be created on the positive side than on finger pointing or holding someone accountable. Accountability must be there, but then where we slip up is we hold a person individually accountable. The team must be accountable for its goals, and that culture can be set when there's information and with a conscious conversation in stand-ups and retrospectives. With that being done, I think the team will set on its path, especially with the aspirational goal actually available.
Nice. So that's a good detailed explanation.
Oh, sorry.
Would you like to summarize?
Okay, that's pretty tough, but I guess one word that Harish used, I think summarizes the whole thing, which is culture. I think Jessica should work on the team's culture. How do you create a self-managed, self-motivated and self-organizing team? So we spoke about a model that can be used, which is the 5 dysfunctions of a team. There is a simple instrument that can be administered to get a dipstick on what it is. And once that is done, the various things that Harish spoke about in terms of understanding the client commitments, in terms of getting the dashboards in place, which would give the status, the true status of what is happening to the teams, which they can use in their planning activities, whether it's a daily stand-up or retrospectives. The data that is there is more for their planning and continuous improvements. Now, with these things, the team also getting together in terms of pushing and pulling each other together, I think will address both the aspirational goals for the team and the operational goals that Jessica wants to put in.
Nice. Yeah. That's a very good summary. Yeah, I like the word culture. Agile teams are not about just delivering velocity. It's about making sure they are champions for their culture, what they should do and what they take it forward.
And I think a Scrum Master's job, in a sense, or responsibility is to build the culture, because I feel then individuals actually sustain the cultural aspect through multiple deliveries itself.
That's a very good one. Thank you. Thanks for the insights. And yeah, I'm sure Scrum Masters like Jessica will find these experiential insights very useful. Thank you.